Hi everyone and welcome to Make It Happen TV. This was supposed to be a live that we were supposed to be giving you right at the time at 6 p.m. earlier on this evening, and I apologise for the fact that you didn't get it. Quite simply, we had a couple of technical problems for some bizarre reason. 4G, Wi-Fi, you name it, seems to have gone out here, and we can't seem to get it back. And I'm sure no problem, as soon as we finish this, okay, it'll all come on fully and perfectly normal, and we'll be sitting there going, ah! But some of you will understand the problems of technology, so please, please, please forgive us. Okay, so I am joined this afternoon on the Not Live, so we're going to call it the Not Live.
Not Live.
Okay, with the awesome Danielle Suchley, Managing Director of 4 awesome companies, if I say so myself. Yeah. Okay, on top of that, mother of 2 children, a really, really smart lady in the world of fintech, understanding how financial services disruption is taking place with the fintech industry, understanding how to grow businesses really from the very beginning, and also to pick businesses up from the bones of their arse and turn them around and turn them into something better. Fair?
Yep.
Okay, so
I'll take that.
and so what Danielle has done over the last few years. I mean, she's 32 years old. You're 32.
33.
Yeah? 33 years old. I've worked with Danielle for many, many years. I've seen her grow from a 19-year-old kind of like fresh-faced, high energy. Still fresh-faced, so still really fresh-faced, really high energy
So harsh.
person. But what I wanted her to do is, I've got some questions that were sent to us earlier on, so I want to get her to answer those questions that have come from our audience before. If you've got further questions that you want to ask Danielle, then guess what? Send them across to us on the Facebook page. I'll make sure that Danielle answers those questions, and I'll come back to you and I'll readdress them, and I'll go live with you tomorrow or the next day so I can share that information with you. Okay, so Danny, sorry for the technical stuff.
No worries.
Right,
it was I think I willed it.
Yeah, you definitely willed it. Okay, it's Emma's fault though. Okay, because Emma's in charge of Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and it's Lizzie's fault also, because Lizzie sucks Wi-Fi. She walks through the front door. She charges electricity. Okay, from her shoes, and that static causes Wi-Fi to go out. So
Juliet as well.
And also there's someone from the gods is speaking, because it's Ramadan. So Ramadan Mubarak to all you guys out there. And Amma is fasting, and he has been all day, and he's waiting for iftar, which isn't too far away, so he can go and eat. So he's probably as annoyed as anybody else sat here right now. Fair enough? Okay, so what we'll do is we'll try and make this as long as possible, okay, and take out as much time as we can, and then hopefully all the food will be gone after iftar, and there'll be nothing left, and you'll be like, what am I going to do? Okay, Danny, let's talk about a few things. The audience were prepared to learn a little bit today about the disruption of fintech in that space. So tell us about why you think that fintech is having a big impact on the kind of like the brick and mortar ready everyday type of businesses that are in financial services, and what do you think those kind of companies should be looking out for the future?
I think we've so I think if you, rather than the companies, focus on the consumers, so focus on the clients. I think for everyone, we all want to do everything right that second, don't we? So for me, if I was doing my financial planning, whether it was buying insurance or investing, I probably do want to do it in my pajamas at 10 o'clock at night, because I've got 2 kids and I'm busy with work. And I think that is so convenience is a huge part of why technology is disrupting everything, because it's just so accessible, apart from today when we needed it. But typically you can just do it there and then. I think the second part is that we've kind of learnt to trust computers more than humans now, haven't we?
What Google says is gospel.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And so whether it's a WebMD and you're self-diagnosing an illness, whether you're reading about finance or whatever it may be, I do think that plays a big part in it. We're all obsessed with information now. So we are very much in the information age. So finding out, what people become an expert pretty quickly in terms of they do some research and decide, I can do my own financial planning. I don't need a financial planner, or I don't need anyone to guide me on my investments.
So let's take financial planning in particular. I mean, we will talk about it probably at a higher level than most consumers, because we understand it and have been in that industry for a long time, or I was at least for a long time. When you think about everyday aspects of it, people have already moved in that direction, haven't they? Because I remember, if we compare when I was young and when you were younger,
you can say when you were my age. That's what you're going to say.
But I still went to the bank. I still had a checkbook. In the UK, I still would go and talk to somebody about getting a credit card. I still phoned that company up and said, The car's 2 years old. Okay, I've got no convictions. I'm going to do 15,000 miles a year. My postcode is, it's in a locked garage. Can you give me a quote, please? Yeah. When I went on holiday, travel insurance was something that was a bit of a nightmare to find. It was like, well, where would you get travel insurance from?
Yeah, you do the app on your phone now, don't you?
That's right, yeah. So when you compare to what it was like when I was there, lots of people now just take all of this kind of stuff for granted, don't they? They don't think, oh, I've moved from making a phone call to now going online.
No.
Do you think that's going to, because there's questions around whether that's going to capture all aspects of financial and investment planning advice, because some people just don't know enough about finance. They don't know enough about investing. And so is everyone going to move in that direction?
I think it's like everything. I don't think they will. I think that some people, they need a human, they need a person, and I think you, in some aspects, are like that. So, like, I'll phone someone and I'll speak to someone rather than doing it yourself online. And then other people are just all about that kind of automation. I can do it quickly whenever I want, and it's kind of the ball's in their court, if you like. I asked the guys in our offices on Sunday who uses the automated checkout at the supermarket. So we've seen those. I think they've probably 10 years now. They've been introduced.
What do you mean?
You know, the way you self-scan.
You scan your barcode?
The Tesco's, yeah.
I love scanning. I don't like the last bit because it never seems to go in the bag, and I keep missing things. I'm like, or I scan it twice.
But pretty much everyone in the office said that if they had a trolley full of shopping, they wouldn't use the automated system. So while we see sort of technology, it's definitely there, it's definitely works, it's definitely convenient in some respects. For most people, they get to a point and they still want to go and see the lady at the checkout and her to do it for them. So I think that'll be the same in all aspects. So I think you'll have some people who'll go towards the automated route. The millennial market in particular, they seem very keen on doing it themselves. But you'll have other people that will still be relationship driven.
Okay. Let's take into consideration things like self-driving cars. Okay, when you think of that, that's lots of talk about that.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen to industry in the future, and are there going to be car parks?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? I think that's for a lot of people is the biggest thing that puts them off technology is when they start thinking it to that level. They go, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can cope with this.
But maybe when I was 21 years old, if you'd have said to me, you won't be able to walk into the branch of a bank in the future, you'll just do it all on your phone, I'd have walked around thinking you were nuts. Yeah.
Well, I was talking to someone about your Nokia connector. I remember you were the first one who had the little... the little...
Nokia
communicator, was it? Yeah. And at the time, it was like that was the bee's knees in terms of, oh my goodness, you've got a computer on your phone, and now look at what you can do on your phone. It's just crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. BlackBerry was the thing.
BlackBerry,
the
scrolly thing.
I got emails and
thumb cramp halfway through. Yeah.
Thumb cramp. Yeah. So tell me about what, so everyone can understand, what does Benipul do, the organisation? How does it help people, and how does it help companies?
Okay, so Benipul, it's a free HR software. It's specifically built for the SME market and specifically built for sort of the Middle Eastern market, in particular the UAE. And it's kind of a replacement for Excel spreadsheets. So obviously across all of the businesses, you have people going on leave, you have people who call in sick, you have people who have visas that need renewing or labour cards or medical insurance. And basically it's a centralised system which automates a lot of those processes, so you're not so reliant on paper and filing cabinets, and it's digitalised that process.
And so where was the necessity for this born from?
Okay, so there's a couple of places. So first of all, anybody who's managed a small business will know where are you? I'm in Ibiza. Where's your holiday request form? I put on your desk months ago type scenario. And so there's definitely a necessity from us to use it. But it was actually born out of our corporate division. So we do lots of work in corporate medical insurance and in kind of gratuity management, all kinds of financial planning for corporates. And we had a huge focus on the SME market. And when I was kind of doing the testing for that division, I was going and meeting lots of HR managers and business owners, and I'd say, so tell me, what was your staff retention last year? And they would say, I don't know. And I'd say, and how many employees, if we're looking at medical insurance, how many employees do you think you have got over 50? I don't know. How many have had over a 5-year tenure to work out the gratuity liability? Don't know. And so I quickly learned that if we were going to be really, really good in terms of advising, so is that you would in sort of the personal space, we needed to start gathering data, and we needed to make it easy for people, so that now obviously that system allows people to say, yes, this is my staff turnover. Yes, this is the number of employees. And so that was what it was born from, really. It was to support our corporate proposition.
There are companies out there that run their businesses based upon what they think's going on.
100%.
Rather than what they know is going on.
100%.
So then they're not essentially looking at the data and letting the data tell them what's going on. They know a lot of people, when it comes to whether it's recruitment, staff retention, a lot of the time they feel this, or they feel they're doing something. Even salespeople might say that they're good at a certain part of the process, or dealing with a certain type of nationality or whatever it may be, and they may think that but not know that, and the data might say something completely different. Why do you think it is that so many companies are still taking so long to make data their kind of core to their business?
I think in the SME space, it is wearing so many hats. So I think when whether it's a startup business, or actually whether it's a business that's been going 5-10 years, in the case of some of our businesses, you are fulfilling so many roles. Usually the receptionist is the office manager, is the HR manager, and because of that, it's just necessity. So they're driven by the urgent tasks as opposed to sort of the important things, and you only realise really how important or valuable it is 2 years down the line when you say, oh, it'd be really good if we understood this or we knew that. And that's really what we've tried to do with Beneful. So day-to-day management of those processes, but ultimately it spits out a lot of incredibly valuable data for the business owner as well.
And does that business owner, when they have that data, do they know how to use that data? Or are they still at a place where they're saying, you know what, that's really, really valuable, that's really good, but they don't really know then how to implement that knowledge within their business? Do you find that a lot?
I think, we do find that a lot. We've assisted with sort of consulting on a lot of those with those companies. So, the data's one thing, knowing what to do with it is another thing. But if you're taking one step at a time, the first bit is you can't start gathering the data too soon. So businesses setting up, and I'm sure you give the same advice, you need to start from day one of tracking that information, and it does become more and more valuable as the business progresses.
What do you think is going to happen to your typical financial advisory business over the course of the next 5 or 10 years? What do you think is really going to happen to those businesses that still work with the old processes that we saw in the past? I was a big part of that old-fashioned approach to gather data, get hold of people, go see them, try and convert them into a sale by adding some advice to them, and try and manage them in a paper way. What do you think is going to happen if they stay in that model? What do you think will happen to them?
I don't think it's financial advice. I think it's any industry. If you're not prepared to evolve, you pretty much, you're prepared to die off, aren't you? Or you should be prepared to die off. So that it affects everyone. But I do think that there's clients want different things, and I think understanding what different segments of the market want is probably the first place you need to start in terms of preparing to change. So I know from our Finsbury side, we really look at sort of the millennial market as being sort of transactional. They want to go online, like I said, like me, 10 o'clock at night in my pyjamas and buy their insurance. You've got other people who need a little bit of assistance and some relationship management. And then you've got other people who they need complete hand-holding from the beginning to end. And I just think it's understanding that and building a business that supports those clients in those different ways.
I bang on about cold calling.
I know you do.
And you made a comment the other day when we were talking that maybe people don't understand that you come from cold calling, and that's kind of your background. And so many of you may not know this, but when I learned to sell, that was what we did. We got data, we made cold calls, and that's literally how we would get hold of people. Now, I don't know a single person on this planet that, I don't know, you tell me if you do, but likes to receive a cold call. Do you like to receive a cold call?
I don't.
Nobody does. But when you come from that model and then you find that there are other ways of doing it, and you see when you add up the cost involved in that in terms of reputation, the cost of recruitment of people, the cost of staff morale, the cost in running an office, and all the bills that go with that, and then you think about that amount of money you spend and how you could spend less of that more wisely and generate a whole host more opportunities for your business. It's fascinating to see that that's out there. What's even more fascinating is to see that that's out there, but there are still people that are going, yeah, I know, but...
It's not just that as well. I think that with financial planning in particular, I think cold calling kind of gives everybody the opportunity to say no. So it's so easy to say no to someone interrupting a meeting by picking up your phone to a cold call. And it's so vital that people do take advice and they do take insurance and they have got a will and all of these things that we know are so, so important. And usually people discover how important they are at like the worst ever time in their lives. And yeah, I think as an industry, well, maybe not as an industry, but yeah, we kind of built that. Okay, we'll give everybody that opportunity to say no as opposed to yes. And I think at the time, and I've been in businesses where cold calling's been the complete norm. And at the time, you kind of thought you were getting through to people. But when you look at the statistics, yeah, people just don't engage with it, do they?
No, they don't. When you look at the kind of companies that you're dealing with through the corporate side of the business, when it comes to data and managing their administration, what are the key challenges these people face, and what are the simple fixes? If there were 3 fixes they could make when they started up to make sure that they didn't walk themselves into a world of problems, what kind of things would you advise people to do? I think
pretty much what I just said. So I think, first of all, understanding the data of all aspects of your business and not driving your business blind, essentially. So
make sure you're clear and you understand critical data on all aspects. So
yeah, all the way through. So from your retention figures to your P&L, every aspect of your business needs such management in the early stages. And I think most people think, oh, I'll worry about that further down the line. And that's where they go hugely wrong. I think that being organised from the beginning or getting off on the right foot is really, really important. So when you go and you try and fix things further down the line, it causes all kinds of problems, doesn't it? Whereas from the beginning, if you kind of set your stall out that, okay, this is what we're going to do and we're going to do it from the very beginning, it becomes a lot easier journey. I think the other thing is knowing what your values truly are. So I think that in some of the business, it wasn't, although I knew what my values were, I maybe didn't communicate those always to the team in the way that I needed to do. And so making sure that not just I know what the values of the business are, but making sure that we hire to those values and everybody in the business is completely engrossed in them as well.
Okay.
So yeah, that'd be my 3 things that if I was starting over, that I would.
Would you be prepared to answer some questions?
I would.
Okay. I've got some questions for people here. So Joe Harper, he says, interesting topic today, guys. Innovative startups in Dubai are disrupting the norms from all over the UAE. Danielle, I'm guessing that you have a passion for this area, but how does your software tool make life easier and better for your users?
Yeah, I think I've just said so. No more. Why are you in Ibiza? Why did I not know about it? That's one of the biggest.
Yeah, so Joe, maybe you got that question answered a little bit earlier on, but then Gina Sky from Bryanston down in South Africa says, my company is living in the dark ages. They don't have a dedicated HR person at the office. Our receptionist just assumes this to be her role. And all leave, salary slips and other important documentation is printed on a grubby piece of paper. We are also told that we only have this one copy and there are no online tools available for us. How do I convince my boss to get with the times?
Wow, I think there's so many.
Shake him.
Yeah, I know. There's so many free results. So I think it used to be a cost thing, didn't it? So I know that when we were building Benapol, you look at kind of the Oracles and the SAPs and the big systems and really complex, take a lot of time to implement, and they just cost millions. And so I could see why that would be such a disincentive. But now there are so many free tools. Like Benapol, but there's loads of other different tools out there, whether it's payroll, whatever it may be, that I can't really see an excuse for that. So yeah, shaking him, maybe maybe the answer to that.
There's the answer to that one. But if there are free tools out there, go and do the research yourself, hun, and then show those to your boss. That if there's solutions that don't cost him any money but just cost a bit of time, then...
And I do think that, like with Benapol, for example, there are things. So the tracking of holiday leave or expiring passports, it's probably something as a business owner that I don't pay that much attention to anymore, but something like a staff turnover or what my retention level is per department, maybe a boss would be much more interested in those types of reports rather than...
Fair enough. Okay, Connor O'Brien from Dublin. Hi, Connor. All this talk about tech and is giving me a headache. I'm a born and bred salesman, but I'm a bit of a techno peasant.
Yeah.
Okay, I never heard that term before, and struggle with how fast the world is moving at times. I don't like social media. I've only recently signed up for Facebook and started following you, Spencer. In your opinion, am I able to make a success of my career without tech and digital media? I don't even know where to start.
Okay, I think... Do I think that you can get by now with no technology? I think you'd have to be excellent at building relationships in other ways, and you'd have to get super creative in other ways if you weren't going to use technology. I think technology is a tool to make a lot of the job of sales a lot easier. So I think you're kind of fighting against the tide if you're not going to use them. However, I'm not going to say it couldn't be done. I'm sure that if you were committed enough, it could be.
Yeah, things can be done.
Yeah.
It's just like, why would you take a bit of time to study, and hopefully with a bit of luck, once you've taken that time to study and learn a bit more, you'll understand the benefits of that knowledge. And if you understand the benefits of that knowledge and then you can deploy that, then it's going to be able to help you. So don't sit here with a mindset of I can't and I won't and I shan't. Try and think about your own mindset and how that's causing you negative connotations from what you're thinking. All right, Danny Keats from London says, all right. Okay, sorry, Danny. I'm sick and tired of wasting time and money on laborious and mundane HR tasks. I've been thinking about starting my own HR software company, but I don't have a clue where to start. Any pointers you can give? No.
Classified. Don't do it.
But what we, at the end of the day, if somebody was to do this kind of stuff, this is a big undertaking, isn't it?
It is a huge undertaking. I guess if you were really committed to starting it, it is understanding what the pain points really are. So I know the pain points here, so in the UAE, are very different to what the pain points may be in the UK. So it's understanding those and really, really understanding those, I think, to make a success of it.
And make sure, Danny, you've got some money behind you to invest in starting and building that business, because you're going to need it, trust me. Okay, Yvonne Bruce from Joburg says, I curse the day that technology was invented. Everyone's always going on about how awesome it is and how tech companies are making life easier for us, but I feel like I don't have a moment to myself anymore. I'm expected to be on social media for work. I have all my personal information plastered all over the internet. I'm in WhatsApp groups with my clients. I have Skype calls at midnight with my colleagues in the US, and I haven't had a holiday in years because I'm plagued by my email. When will it stop, and how can I get away from it before I go crazy?
Do not disturb mode. That's the thing, isn't it?
But what's the rule in France? What have they said recently in France? There was people aren't allowed to go on holiday, okay, and like it's moving on its own. Whoa, it's moving on its own. People in France aren't allowed when they go on holiday now to respond to emails, are they? Or employers have to pay them? Was that something?
I think they've got to be paid, haven't they, if they do respond to emails.
At the end of the day, the idea of tech is to make your life easier, not make your life more complicated. And if it's making your life more complicated, then maybe you're not thinking about it in the right way. Think about the alternatives that you've got. Think about what you would do if you didn't have all of these tools at your disposal. And think about, I remember the first day my dad had a car phone. And this was many years ago, and we were driving down the road, and he said, this bloody phone. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with that? He said, this was my sanctuary, my car. I would drive to work in the morning, I'd listen to War of the Worlds, I'd be really happy with it, and then I'd get to work, and then the shitstorm could start. But now this phone's in there, they can call me whenever they want, and I really don't like it. So, but again, I look at him now, and he sits there and he puts inappropriate comments on Facebook because he doesn't know how to use it.
Private messaging. Posting it to you all. Who knows?
Writing comments about golf on people's wedding photos and all this kind of crazy stuff. And I'm like, why did you post a comment about you at the golf club when you were on that wedding picture? He's like, I was at the golf club. I'm like, yeah, but it's someone's wedding picture. He said, yeah, but it looked like they were at a golf club too.
Brilliant.
Dad, don't use it. It's not for you. So Yvonne, please just try and think of it differently. Try and look at it and see. Write down areas that it's helped you. Think about if you didn't have a phone, you didn't have any email, you didn't have WhatsApp, you didn't have Facebook Messenger. Think about your family and friends who you couldn't see on social media, photos of family that you couldn't catch up with. Think about, if you didn't have Skype, how you could talk to people around the world. You remember the olden days, people used to write letters and put them in envelopes and put stamps on them and wait 3 weeks for them to get to the other side of the world. People used to send a fax, or even before you would know, they would send a telex. And, so that technology is there to help enhance our lives. You just have to let it not take over your life. And like Danny said, turn it off from time to time.
I think as well, there's kind of this hybrid that's happened, isn't there? So I know that my management team, I plague them at 10 o'clock at night on WhatsApp groups and emails. But with that, I think there's got to be kind of a balance. So there's got to be sort of more flexibility in their start and their finish times. And I kind of understand that if they're sat in Costa and they've got their MacBook open, they are working. And I think it's when you kind of have a really rigid work structure, and then on top of that, you're expected to kind of respond to the emails and the WhatsApps and things. I don't think you can have it both ways. I think you've got to kind of
I agree.
hit that balance.
Okay, so go and get your boss, put him in a neck lock, Yvonne. Okay, and say, don't you do that to me. Give me a bit more time. And maybe that will help. If it doesn't and you get fired, it wasn't on me. It was just a suggestion. There are lots of other things you can do too. Okay, a couple more questions before we finish. Karen Roberts in New York says, I recently read an article that said that no industry is safe from tech disruption. Is this true?
So we had an amazing talk from Matthew. I think it was also
Matthew
on Make It
Renzi,
Happen, and like doctors, it does the predictives of industries that will be disrupted. Doctors, you just can't imagine, can you, that could there be a robot doing that? I think the industry that said it wouldn't be, or there'd be last to be disrupted, was actually nurses. So it's that kind of compassion and the caring side of it. And so, I do think all industries are going to be affected. To what degree, though, I think is yet to be determined.
There's reason for every one of them, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if you knew that an operation by a robot was going to be 99.9% successful, or an operation by a doctor was going to be 85%.
It's like a diagnosis, isn't it, as well? So diagnosis by a robot, the robot isn't stressed because he's got another patient in 7 minutes, or he's not stressed.
Or had a row with his wife.
Just said about, bad morning. So there's arguments for and against it, aren't there?
Do robots go on blind dates? I doubt very much. Okay, last question from Mark Kaufman in Berlin. It's getting harder and harder to remain relevant these days. Why do you think the small companies are more eager to embrace change and move with the times? I work for a large company and one of the leading companies in its field, but they've been very slow to adapt. Why do you think this is?
Complacency, I think. So generally when people have success, they're much less willing to try something different because it's been successful, and that kind of breeds a property where actually it ends up failing because they're not adapting. So I think as a small new business, you've got everything to prove, and so you're willing to try different things. I think that's where the competitive edge of the SME has been.
Mark, I would advise you to go and sit down with your CEO and tell him the Blockbuster story, or tell him the Kodak story.
Or the Nokia
story. Because there are many of those stories out there where big organisations haven't adapted quickly. Remember, we all had Blackberries a few years ago, and before then we had Nokias. When was the last time you picked a Nokia phone up? When was the last time you went to Blockbuster Video to pick your popcorn and your DVD up? Oh, you didn't. That's right, because you went on Netflix or something else. These things have happened because companies haven't moved with the times. Hopefully those questions that have been asked have been answered well enough for you. If you've got further questions, by all means go ahead, send them across to us on our Facebook page, and we'll make sure that we get those answered for you. But for now, apologies for the Wi-Fi connection. Apologies for the disruption.
I think I wished it.
You wished it. Okay. Damn Amma, okay, damn Amma, damn Lizzie for making all of it go wrong today. But I'm so glad that Danny stayed with us and enabled us to ask her some questions and learn a bit more about what she was doing, and gave you some pointers, some tips and some ideas and some tricks and some advice really about what you should do so that you don't get caught out by tech disruption, and you can take advantage of being as smart as you need to be to develop your business going forward. From all of us here at Make It Happen, thanks very much for coming to join us. Danny, thank you so much. We'll see you soon, and do whatever this lady does. Make sure that you make it happen. We'll see you soon.